2021 council meeting here at the City of Lake Forest. At this time, the City Council will convene to consider public matters. Invocation will be led by Councilman Doug Serbo. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Let's bow our heads real quick. Morning, Lord. As we pause for a moment, I just want to express gratitude for, the collective team of people we have here to be good stewards of managing our city. And of course, that includes our council members, our dedicated city staff and all the departments, third-party resources, and our incredible residents, and us all coming together in a way in the best interest of Lake Forest to discuss and debate and decide on matters before us. Our ask tonight is for a civil and respectful discourse with your guidance and wisdom, and we pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen. And our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilman Mark Teddemer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Will you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, colleagues. At this time, in closed session, do we have anything to report, Mr. City Attorney?
There is no action to report tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, public comments. As the public may know, March 4th, 2020, Mayor Governor Newsom proclaimed a California state emergency as a result of the threat of COVID-19. On March 17, 2020, Governor Newsom issued Executive Order number N-29-20, which allows local legislative bodies to hold public meetings via teleconferencing. The executive order also allows legislative bodies to make public meetings electronically accessible to members of the public, speaking to observe and address the legislative bodies. Prudent to the executive order and given the current health concerns, the city is streaming this meeting live on its website, www.lakeforest.ca.gov. The city council chamber has been closed to the public and will be. Members of the public may submit e-comments to council@lakeforestca.gov or a voicemail message by calling. E-comments will not be read at the meeting. Voicemail messages will be played at the meeting and will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. To ensure staff reviews all comments prior to the city council meeting, please submit or email your voicemail comments no later than 5 p.m. the day of the meeting. Email and comments received after said time will be uploaded into the agenda package and made part of the official public record of the meeting. Madam Mayor, or Madam Clerk, have we had any, received any voicemails?
We have one voicemail to play for you that's part of public comment, and
Okay.
the balance of those voicemails will be played under items 15 and 16.
Okay, thank you so much. Then play that public comment.
Good evening, Lake Forest Council. This is Randy Johnson, longtime resident of Lake Forest. At the City Council meeting on January 19th, Bennett Ranch resident Monica Levac spoke during public comments. She advised council and staff that most parking ordinances, to include street sweeping and abandoned vehicle prohibitions, were being ignored and left unenforced. Ms. Levac remarked that she was told by the Sheriff's Department that only 2 of the 34 incorporated cities in Orange County had suspended such parking ordinances, and that Lake Forest was one of them. Obviously, this is a policy that would not only impact Bennett Ranch, but the entire city of Lake Forest and our 85,000 residents. I thank Ms. Levac for making this matter public, which apparently took our council by surprise, based on Mayor Voigt's lack of knowledge about the situation in his follow-up questions to staff. This odd situation was not openly discussed and resolved at the meeting before our residents. Mayor Voigt said he would contact the Chief of Police Services and telephone Ms. Levac with an update. I feel the entire city deserves an explanation, since the suspension of city ordinances affects all of us, not just Ms. Levac. On January 20th, I sent an email to Council and Deborah Rose. I wanted to know how Ms. Rose, an unelected administrator, had the authority to suspend city ordinances that were approved with council votes. And I provided my telephone number requesting the mayor to call me with an update as well, since we have parking issues and abandoned vehicles in our neighborhood too. As usual, I received no response to my email or phone call request, so I am left with no other choice than to raise this issue this evening with a voice message. Our council is the body that enacts city ordinances, and our council should be the only body that has the authority to suspend city ordinances. Period. Deborah Rose is an unelected administrator who answers to the council, not the other way around. At least that's the way it's supposed to work. Miss Rose is a non-city resident, so she doesn't have to live with the consequences of her actions when she suspends laws. COVID and stay-at-home orders do not preclude residents from following our city parking ordinances and periodically moving their vehicles to comply with the laws that exist to protect the common good and safety of our residents and maintain our quality of life. So out of respect for our Lake Forest residents, I'm asking our council to provide a full status update this evening on our parking ordinances in the city of Lake Forest, where we stand as residents. And going forward, can we residents rest assured that if city ordinances are suspended, that such an order would come from you, our elected officials, who enact our city ordinances, as opposed to a non-resident and unelected administrator.
That conclude public
Yes.
comments?
Yes, it does.
Mr. City Manager, can we just have a brief buffet of what the policy is for parking on our streets right now? Are we enforcing parking?
Yes, we are currently enforcing parking. So as a result of Ms. Levesque's communications with the city, she did have conversations with Captain Taylor. And Captain Taylor spoke to his parking enforcement staff, and they all mutually agreed that, yes, it was time to begin reinforcing those ordinances that are on the books. And so we had a 2-week public education period, and as of February 1st, they have all restarted enforcement of street sweeping, permit parking, and 72-hour parking.
Thank you so much. That will help to keep our streets a little bit more beautiful. Thank you. While we're on that talk, I'd like to schedule a meeting with Public Works and Captain Taylor for maybe the beginning of next week. Thank you. That leaves us to consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted with one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the city council or staff requests specific items to be removed by the consent calendar for separate action. Have there been any requests?
I've received none.
Council, any requests?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to pull items 6 and 8.
6 and 8. Council, colleagues?
Yes, I'd like to abstain from item number 6 through 8, so that's item 6, 7, and 8, because I was not seated as a council member during those city council
Madam
meetings.
Clerk, duly noted. Okay, and,
Mayor,
Councilman.
I'd also like to abstain from items 6 and 8 because I was not seated as a council member during the city council meetings.
Okay, duly noted.
And that's items 6 through 8, correct? Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have a comment pertaining to item 4. So if it's okay, I could
Yeah.
just make that statement and apply it to item 4?
Yes,
if that's
please.
okay? Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. There is a warrant on the register to Irvine Ranch Water District. I am an employee of Irvine Ranch Water District, but I do not work for the department that generated this warrant. Because the Irvine Ranch Water District is a public agency and because I do not work for the department in question, I have determined that I have a non-interest in this warrant and I will vote on that matter. Thank you.
So on that same note.
I also have a comment to make regarding the warrant.
Council-
There is,
Councilman
sorry.
Mutazzi, go ahead.
so sorry, Mayor, thank you. There is a warrant on the register to the gas company. I'm an employee of the gas company and have determined that I have a remote interest in this warrant and will abstain from voting on that warrant.
And then there are warrant registries from the County of Orange. I'm an employee for the County of Orange, but I do not work for the department that generated these warrants. Because the County of Orange is a public agency, because I do not work for the departments in question, I have determined that I have a non-interest in these warrants and I will vote on the items. So with that, I would like to see a motion.
I'll move approval, noting the
Absences.
abstentions of my colleagues.
Would Councilman Tazzy, would you like to second that?
Yes, I can second. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, we do roll call?
I can do roll call, certainly.
Or you want us to do it by electric? Okay, we got that.
Yeah, just give me a second, let me.
My vote is yes.
Let's
Thank
do
you.
a
We
roll
like
call
that.
vote. Councilmember Serbo? Mayor Pro Tem Pequeño? Mayor Voight?
Yes,
And Councilmember Tettemer?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you so much. That brings us to discussion items. Items 13 through 12. Item number 13, Madam Clerk.
Yes, item number 13 is an ordinance amending Chapter 13.20 and 13.28 of the Lake Forest Municipal Code regarding use of Civic Center and its related facilities at night.
Okay, this agenda item is an ordinance amending Chapter 13.20 and 13.28 of the Lake Forest Municipal regarding the use of public related to facility night use. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments for this item?
I've received none.
Okay, then, do members of the councils have anything to put in for this? Would my city manager like to introduce this item?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to introduce our Senior Management Analyst, Adrian Grajava. He has a presentation on this proposed ordinance.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. The item before you for consideration is the proposed Civic Center Rules Ordinance. In December of 2019, the City of Lake Forest opened up the new Civic Center campus. On October 6, 2020, the City Council adopted Ordinance Number 338, which added Chapter 13.28, Use of Civic Center at Night, to Title 13 of the Lake Forest Municipal Code. Ordinance Number 338 codifies a prohibition on persons using the Civic Center at night unless a facility is specifically designated as open during those hours. The proposed ordinance provides additional regulations governing the use of the Civic Center. Some of the proposed regulations include the use of Civic Center at night, operation of bicycles, skateboards, and skates, vehicles, animals, and property damage. This slide shows proposed regulations for use of the Civic Center at night. No person shall be or remain in the Civic Center between 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. unless the portion of the Civic Center is designated by the city as being open later than 9 p.m. Any person who attends a city-authorized public or private event occurring between 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. of the following day shall not be in violation of this section while that event is taking place. The proposed Civic Center regulations also include rules on the operation of vehicles, bicycles, skateboards, and rollerblades or skates. These include that no person shall park any vehicle except in designated parking areas, no parking between the hours of 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. unless they're attending a city-authorized event, or actively charging at an electrical vehicle charging station. No person shall operate bicycles, skateboards, or roller skates on a non-roadway. This slide deals with regulations as it relates to animals. No person shall allow any animal be present at the Civic Center except dogs or cats confined to the interior of a vehicle, guide dogs used by disabled persons to aid and guide them in their movements, in connection with activities authorized in writing by the City Council or the City Manager. Other Civic Center rules and regulations include no person shall hold any special event without first obtaining a special event permit, and no person shall smoke at the Civic Center. Smoking includes the use of an electronic cigar or cigarette of any kind. And with that, staff is recommending that the City Council introduce for first reading an ordinance amending Title 13 of the Lake Forest Municipal Code. Thank you.
Colleagues, do we have any questions for? Otherwise, I'd take a motion
I
for
move approval.
staff recommendations.
I'll second.
And we'll use the electronic voting system. You can start voting now.
Great, thank you.
Madam Clerk, I vote aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and the motion passes unanimously.
All right. That brings us to item number 14, consideration of appointments to city commissions. On this next item, we're considering appointments to city commissions. Madam City Clerk, do we have any public comments for this item?
I have none.
Madam City Manager, would you like to introduce the role we're going to do?
Thank you, Mayor. The Lake Forest Municipal Code dictates a process for appointing commissioners. And so with the election of new council members, as we've seen with Councilmember Serbo and Mayor Pro Tem Pequeño, each receives 3 appointees, 1 each to the Planning Commission, Community Services Commission, and Traffic and Parking Commission. And the way the appointment works is a member of the council will announce their appointment for a certain commission, and then another member of the council will need to second that nomination. Once a second is received, that person is considered appointed. So tonight, we have appointments from, as I mentioned, Councilmember Serbo, Mayor Pro Tem Pequeño, and also by Mayor Voigt, since his appointee, Robert Pequeño, was elected to council, there's now a vacancy on Traffic and Parking Commission. So I believe we will start with Councilmember Serbo.
Thank you. I want to preface my nominations for the commission appointments tonight, and just first of all, thank all the people who submitted applications. I am amazed by the talent that we have in our community and the number of people with such quality credentials. And during this process, I thought I had made up my mind about potential people that had, submitted applications, and then through the interview process and reviewing their resumes and their questions and seeing, what's actually in the best interest of the city. And that's where my heart is going to go here tonight in terms of making my nominated appointments. So my first one that I'd like to do is I'd like to nominate Jolene Fuentes to the Planning Commission.
I'll second.
Congratulations, Jolene Fuentes.
All right, thank you.
Jolene Fuentes is confirmed as a planning commissioner.
All right, my second nomination to the Community Services, Community Services Commission is Victor Schur.
I'll second.
Congratulations, Victor.
We have a confirmation. We have Victor Scheer appointed to the Community Services Commission.
My final nomination to the Traffic and Parking Commission is for James Faust.
I'll second.
Okay, and we have a confirmation. James Faust will be serving on the Traffic and Parking
And
Commission.
congratulations. And I think that his name was Jim in the thing. So congratulations, Jim. Great choices. And that brings us to City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Our next appointments will be by Mayor Pro Tem Pequeño.
I also want to thank all the applicants. I would like to nominate to the Planning Commission is Jordan Vilwalk.
I can second that.
Congratulations, Jordan.
And we have a confirmation. Jordan Vilbach is a planning commissioner.
I would like to nominate Kelly Gould to the Community Services Commission.
I'll second that.
Okay, Kelly Gold is confirmed as a Community Services Commissioner.
And for the Parking and Traffic Commission, I would like to nominate Gerardo Camarena.
I'll second that.
Gerardo Camarillo is confirmed as a Traffic and Parking Commissioner.
Okay, our next appointments will be by Mayor Voights.
I'd like to thank all those that applied for our commissions, and I often talk about the city of Lake Forest and what makes the city of Lake Forest, and it's our public, you the people. And I want to thank everybody that applied to be involved with our city. As I read through many of the applicants, we hopefully starting maybe later this year or at least early next year, we'll be having our City Leadership Academy, which is Lake Forest 101. Basically goes through every department in our city. So I'd just like to encourage every one of you to get involved with that and look for other ways that maybe you can get involved. We have a search program. We'll hopefully start up, and once this COVID pandemic dies down, we'll start up our first aid classes again. And I just want to say how special it was for me to read through and talk to so many of you and leave message and thanking so many of you. So I think that you guys are the ones that actually make our city so special. So for my one and only appointment, and I'm so pleased to have my last appointment here on City Council with me and Mayor Pro Tem Patino, I'd like to nominate a wonderful public servant in Vlad Anderson.
I'll second.
Okay, Vladimir Anderson is confirmed as a Traffic and Parking Commissioner.
Congratulations, Vladimir. Okay, so again, thank you all that participated in sending in your applicants. We hope to see you involved with our city in the coming years and hopefully coming months as we gear up to open up again. Thank you. So that brings us to item number 15.
Mayor, this evening, we're going to take items 15 and 16 together at the same time. So I'll go ahead and read both of those titles right now.
Okay.
Submittal of questions and concerns regarding the Orange County Power Authority and Joint Powers Agreement to its Board of Directors. And 16, consideration of adding a community choice aggregation ballot measure on a standalone election scheduled for November 9th, 2021.
Have we received any public comments for these?
Yes, we have. We've received quite a few. We have about 38 voicemail messages to play for you
Okay,
tonight.
and I presume that they're all 3 minutes or less?
3 minutes or less? Yes, they are.
Thank you, proceed.
Thank you.
Climate change is an extremely pressing issue to our time. Wildfires impacted Lake Forest significantly. As a resident of Lake Forest, I urge you to stay inside the Orange County Power Authority because we need to help bring consumers' choice and energy savings to all Lake Forest families and businesses. Our transition to renewable energy is critical in the climate crisis, and we need to pull ourselves out of the climate crisis with investment in jobs and businesses related to renewable energy and a cleaner economy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dear Mayor and Council, my name is Isabel, and I am urging you to stay in the power of OC Power Authority. Wildfires are burning down our neighborhoods and covered our communities in smoke. We must fix climate change now and switch to a 100% clean energy grid and divest from fossil fuels. Help bring customer choice, cost savings, and energy resilience in the face of fires, floods, and an economic downturn for all of Lake Forest families and businesses. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rachel Smith, and I am urging you to stay in the OC Power Authority and to remain in the Community Choice Energy Program. Wildfires are burning down our neighborhoods and the Lake Forest community. Families, businesses have been through enough already this past year. I'm asking you to give them the choice of who their energy is provided, and in that push, you can help the community switch to a 100% clean energy grid and divest from fossil fuels. They should have the choice, and myself and the other community members are saying via this call and our other actions that we would like to choose something else from SoCal Edison. Thank you.
Hi, Mayor, Voice, and Council. My name is Jacqueline Chen, and I'm urging you to stay in the OC Power Authority. Wildfires are burning down our neighborhoods and covered our communities in smoke. We must fix our climate change now and switch to a 100% clean energy grid and divest from fossil fuels. Help bring consumer choice, cost savings, and energy resilience in the face of fires, floods, and an economic downturn for all of Lake Forest families and businesses. Thank you. Bye.
Dear Mayor Voight and Council, hi, I'm Miriam Awan, and I'm urging you to stay in the Orange County Power Authority. Switching to a 100% clean energy grid and divesting from fossil fuels is something we must do to fix climate change now. And it doesn't only have benefits for the environment. It will bring consumer choice, cost savings, and energy resilience to our community in face of fires, floods, and an economic downturn. We have a right to live without fear of deadly wildfires and toxic air pollution, and I urge you to protect that right. Thank you.
Dear Mayor and Council, my name is Kate, and I'm urging you to stay in the OC Power Authority. Wildfires are burning down our neighborhoods, and they've covered our communities in smoke, and we're really afraid. Everyone I know is afraid of fire. We must fix climate change now and switch to a 100% clean energy grid and divest from fossil fuels. Help bring consumer choices, cost savings, and energy resilience into the face of fires, floods, and an economic downturn for all Lake Forest families and businesses. Thank you so much.
Dear Mayor and Council, my name is Elena Bach, and I'm urging you to stay in the OC Power Authority. Wildfires are burning down our neighborhoods and covered our communities in smoke. We must fix climate change now and switch to a 100% clean energy grid and divest from fossil fuels. Help bring consumer choice, cost savings, and energy resilience in the face of fires, floods, and an economic downturn for all Lake Forest families and businesses. Thank you.
Hi, yes, Mayor and City Council. My name is Katarina Shack, and I'm a resident of Lake Forest. And I'm just calling to leave this message to urge the city to stay in the OC Power Authority, and please do not leave the JPA. It would be really great to know that all of our power is coming from cleaner sources because of consumer choice energy. And it would also be really fantastic to have lower power bills for the community and for businesses as well, because our energy is coming from cleaner sources. So please, please, please do stay in the JPA. Please bring us cleaner energy. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Marie Lubers, and I'm shopped in Lake Forest. I go to the hairdresser there. I buy lots of groceries there, and I'm urging you to stay in the Orange County Power Authority. Help bring consumer choice and energy savings for all Lake Forest families and businesses. Please do not do the mistake, the short-sighted mistake of getting out of it. Everywhere we can see that you save money when you belong to such an association. Thank you.
Dear Mayor Voight and Council, my name is Marie, and I'm urging you to stay in the OC Power Authority. Wildfires are burning down our neighborhoods and covered our communities in smoke. We must fix climate change now and switch to a 100% clean energy grid and divest from fossil fuels. Help bring consumer choice, cost savings, and energy resilience in the face of fires, floods, and economic downturn for all Lake Forest families and businesses. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and city staffers. My name is Walter Nebriga, resident of Lake Forest since 1978. Tonight, my general public comments will address a few points from MRW's presentation on July 19th and other issues of concern. Number one, MRW's chart on page 24 was comparing the rate savings of community choice aggregations that were serviced by 3 different utilities, and each one has different kilowatt-hour rates for electricity. The only one that should have been charted was Lake Forest Utility, Southern California Edison. The other comparisons only skewed the evaluation. Mr. Fulmer misspoke when he stated that revenue from the JPA-CCA would flow into the city's general fund. It can only be used for energy-related projects. Also, on page 24 chart, Rancho Mirage is serviced by SCE, not PG&E. Why did the city council hire MRW? I'm pretty sure it was because, like myself, they didn't have enough knowledge about CCAs to make an informed decision about CCAs. To make, after hours of research, one clear-cut answer I did find is that it wasn't for lower rates. If you compare SCE's standard rate containing 51.1% carbon-free energy with CCA's 38% renewables, the rate savings are minimal at best and does nothing for the environment. Council Tedemir brought up the issue about the possible 14% rate increase as being misleading. The statement was made about the 14% increase was not researched, making it look like it was a general rate increase for Edison customers. All of the 14% increase is for maintenance and system upgrades, if approved, and will show on the delivery side of CCA and SCE bills. A question was asked of Mr. Fulmer if any CCA has failed. My research found that San Joaquin Valley Power Authority failed in 2008. Mayor Voigt, for your information, Cathedral City voted to opt out of Desert Community Energy in February 2020, but are stuck in the CCA until July 2021. They had rate issues. Brian Popolsky, Orange County Power Authority CEO, is probably the best reason not to stay with the Irvine-led JPA. I was afraid this would be another 6-figure salary parking places for politicians. Lo and behold. As I stated earlier, you hired MRW because the council and staff needed more information on JPA CCAs. MRW brings their specialized skills in the energy field so they can give their opinions on a project and should provide accurate data with unbiased concrete recommendations to join or not join the Orange County Power Authority. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and city staffers. My name is Walter Nobrega, resident of Lake Forest since 1978. I will be addressing item number 16, the Community Choice Aggregation 2021 ballot measure on a standalone election. As I stated earlier, why did the City Council hire MRW? And I'm pretty sure it was because, like myself, the council and staff didn't have enough information about CCAs to make a clear-cut decision. My question to the council is, what makes the council think a voter poll of the public is any more informed than the council's? Research, not an emotional response, will find the correct answer for Lake Forest. I do some investing, but I don't purchase a stock without doing deep research to confirm that I'm investing in a means of income and not wasting my money because someone felt it sounded like a good investment. Long Beach went through 5 consultants before deciding that a CCA was not feasible for their city. Long Beach Financial Management Director, John Cross, stated that there is a significant amount of risk involved. For example, changing regulations around grid reliability could lead to a significant cost for CCAs. Other legislative changes under review could hinder CCA's ability to offer competitive rates. The City Council made this decision, not the public. I have done 30-plus hours of research and reached out to CCAs in Southern California Edison areas, but still don't have a clear-cut answer. A lot of research needs to be done to uncover the pluses and minuses of CCAs. A vote won't solve this. We need to find which CCAs know what they're doing and find out why so many others are so mediocre. A CCA might be good for Lake Forest, but right this moment, I think without deep investigative research, we could end up a loser for the residents and businesses. In my opinion, the only thing a vote or poll would do is abdicate the council's responsibility for this critical decision. Thank you for your time.
Dear Mayor Voigt and Council, my name is Amir. and I'm urging you to stay in the OC Power Authority. The wildfires burning down our neighborhoods and covering our communities in smoke. So now we must fix climate change and switch to a 100% clean energy grid and divest from fossil fuels to save the planet for our children and the ecosystems we depend on. We can create thousands of jobs by building a cleaner grid and economy. Help bring consumer choice, cost savings, and energy resilience in the face of fires, floods, and an economic downturn for all Lake Forest families and businesses. I urge you, Mayor Voigt and Council, please think of our children and think of the future. God bless you and God bless the United States.
Hi, Mayor and Council. My name is Jose Trinidad Castaneda, and I am urging you to keep the Orange family together on items 15 and 16. Stay in the Orange County Power Authority. Help bring community choice, cost savings, and energy resilience in the face of fires, floods, and an economic downturn for all Lake Forest families and businesses. You don't have to spend the money on a special election that's never been done. And you're taking the vote before even getting a response from OCPA should you send a letter. So please stay in OCPA, give it a chance. I don't think there's any real urgency for withdrawing at this time. Thank you.
My name is Ted Pearl. I'm a homeowner in Lake Forest. I've proudly lived here for 27 years on Costa Bella Drive. Love my home, and I love the idea of CCE because I think it will save the city a good deal of money. I like the fact that we're talking about competition. We're talking about capitalism at its best rather than monopoly capitalism. And I think it's a forward-looking way for the city of Lake Forest to go. I don't want to see us lose this opportunity. I think we need to keep CCE. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.
Dear Mayors Voigt and Council, my name is Michael Rianda, and I'm urging you to stay in the OC Power Authority. I want to tell a personal story. My nieces and nephews had to leave their homes in the wildfires in California this last year, and their teacher told them, what climate change was and stuff, and then they looked at me and they said, well, and then I said, yeah, but hopefully people can stop it. And she's like, well, but they're going to stop it, right? And I realized when they said that, they is me and they is you. You are the people in the rooms right now to decide whether or not these wildfires are going to get worse, whether or not my nieces and nephews' lives are going to be worse. Like, you can decide right now to fix it and build a better world. Or you can say, people would be mad at me. You have a choice to lean down to your son or daughter and say, your dad tried to fix it, or your mom tried to fix it, or you can say, I didn't do anything. I was afraid people would get mad at me, and I wasn't brave enough. So be brave for your children and my nieces and nephews and the world. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Herb Cohen. I'm a longtime resident of the city, and prior to that, El Toro. The important issue in my mind is the CCE issue, which was approved back in December by the council. I know that there's been many studies, including those by the city and others. I think it's awfully important for both businesses and the residents of the city to proceed and join the Power Authority, and I would hope the council does just that. Thank you very much. Take care.
Dear Mayor, Voigt, and Council, my name is Jamie Palmer, and I am urging you to keep the Orange County family together. On item 15 and 16, stay in the OCPA. Help bring consumer choice, cost savings, and energy resilience in the face of fires, floods, and economic downturn for for all Lake Forest families and businesses. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Louise Adler. I live in Lake Forest 1, and I'm calling to plead with you to please stay in community choice energy. This is so critical for our city to be in the leadership position in this, and also it's critical for our environment and our kids' survival in future generations. Please, please do stay in CCE.
Yes, this is Rita Bradley. I'm calling on agenda item 16 in the public comments. I do not see the need to push this decision with a special election. Anytime there has been a rush to purchase an item or make a lasting decision, it generally involves a regretful decision. Also, there's really little information at this time to make an educated decision on all the aspects of this involvement. So I ask, what is the harm in waiting? The city has enough issues to handle without becoming involved with the energy solution. The fact that this is being pushed by a special election kind of smells to me who is getting a kickback as a contribution for pushing this through. You know, when Tesla invented energy, he had a goal of making it free to the world, free. But the money-hungry and rich corporations misrepresented his invention and gained control, and we've been paying ever since. I have inside information that there are over 6,000 patents that have been suppressed by government in the interest of corporations that will very soon be released. I believe that these involve health and everyday living, and definitely energy will be involved. Again, what is the rush? Thank you.
Andrew O'Connor, Foothill Ranch. Since 1990, I'm speaking on agenda numbers 15 and 16. We need to get off this crazy train of the CCA. Voights whines about crossing guards expense, but has no problem with a $300,000 plus budget for special election vote when turnout is always low. The savings for a resident is 2%, and even then, it's not positive 2% savings. It may cost more than current rates. What's the rush to join a CCA? I don't need the city being involved in something I have no expertise in. Voights doesn't even have a high school diploma. We have seen what Voights has done when he was a member of the Vector Control. Zero. TCA? What has Voights done? Voights doesn't understand the discussion of bonds and other risky, complex financial decisions. Now he wants a $215 stipend to be on the Lake Forest CCA representative. What a bunch of baloney. There are just way too many unknowns at this time. OCPA hasn't even formed their bylaws, and they won't have their policies officially established until at least the end of 2021. It would be irresponsible for Lake Forest as a so-called conservative local government to join something as long-term as this that has so much influence over our residents. Once we jump in head first after the drop-dead exit date, the penalties to get out would be cost prohibitive. Plus, all our council people claim to be for small government. Another JPA is not small government. Just more insider bureaucrats get higher paying jobs. The chief operating officer is Antonia Castro-Graham, a college professor who teaches poli-sci and environmental classes at Cal State Fullerton and Irvine Valley College. She's currently the deputy city manager for the city of Fullerton. Have you followed all the local government scandals in Fullerton? I can't find any expertise in the field of energy procurement. One of the biggest red flags for me is that we are automatically enrolled against our will in the CCA and must take independent action, opt out to stay with Edison. Most Lake Forest residents don't pay any attention to this stuff. They'll probably stay with the CCA by default because they don't know any better. The right course of action is to wait and watch, especially with the OCPA in its infant stages. If it's such a great deal, we can join 3 years down the road.
Dear Mayor, Voights, and Council, my name is Sam, and I'm urging you to stay in the OC Power Authority. Wildfires are burning down our neighborhoods and covering our communities in smoke. We must fix climate change now and switch to a 100% clean energy grid and divest from fossil fuels to
to save the planet for our children and the ecosystems we depend on. We can create thousands of jobs by building a cleaner grid and economy, help bring consumer choice, cost savings, and energy resilience in the face of fires, floods, and an economic downturn for all Lake Forest families and businesses. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nancy Jambone, and I am a Lake Forest resident. I'm urging you to stay in the Orange County Power Authority. The CCE is a good program, and it will help bring energy savings and consumer choice for the Lake Forest families. I could urge you to consider staying in this. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, dear Mayor, Voight, and Council. My name is Julio Rodriguez, and I'm urging you to stay in the OC Power Authority. Wildfires are burning down our neighborhoods and covering our communities in smoke. We must fix climate change now and switch to a 100% clean energy grid and divest from fossil fuels to save the planet for our children and the ecosystems we depend on. We can create thousands of jobs by building a cleaner grid and economy. Help bring consumer choice, cost savings, and energy resilience in the face of fires, floods, and economic downturn for all Lake Forest families and businesses. Thank you.
Dear Mayor Voight and Council, my name is Devin Bukta. I'm a resident of nearby Laguna Niguel, and I'm urging you to stay in the Orange County Power Authority. Wildfires are burning down our neighborhoods and covering our communities in smoke. We must fix climate change now and switch to a 100% clean energy grid and divest from fossil fuels to save the planet for our children and the ecosystems we depend on. We can create thousands of jobs by building a cleaner grid and economy. Help bring consumer choice, cost savings, and energy resilience in the face of fires, floods, and an economic downturn for all Lake Forest families and businesses. Thank you.
Dear Mayor, Voight, and Council, my name is Claire Santangelo, and I'm urging you to stay in the OC Power Authority. Wildfires are burning down our neighborhoods and covering our communities in smoke. We must fix climate change now, and we need to switch to 100% clean energy grids and divest from fossil fuels in order to save the planet for our children and the ecosystems that we depend on. We can create thousands of jobs by building a cleaner grid and economy. Help bring consumer choice, cost savings, and energy resilience in the face of fires, floods, and an economic downturn for all Lake Forest families and businesses. Thank you so much. Bye.
Hello, Mayor Voight and City Council for Lake Forest. I'm a property owner. My name is Luella Nelson. I'm a business owner here in Lake Forest. And I'd like to urge you to stay in the OC Power Authority. We need to have green conditions in our cities and towns and over the whole country to bring down greenhouse gases. And I think there might be cost savings and energy resilience as a part of this program. So I would urge you to, on behalf of the citizens of Lake Forest, to consider our needs and stay in anything that allows the city to be green in every aspect. Thank you.
Hi, Council. This is Randy Johnson, longtime Lake Forest resident once again. I'm commenting on item number 15, community choice aggregation. I feel the city should watch and wait for at least a couple or 3 years while the Orange County Power Authority grows out of its infant stages. How could you possibly join an organization when it doesn't even have its bylaws written or policies established? This is ludicrous. Currently, there are too many unknowns and way too much risk without any evidence of real commensurate benefit. Lake Forest has enough problems with our day-to-day management of our city than to dive headfirst into a business we know next to nothing about. Here are some of my observations. Number one, MRW and Associates did consultant work for the Leap City Irvine on the same project. I thought the council requested an independent consultant, consulting for the lead city of Irvine that desires to recruit risk-bearing members and Lake Forest back-to-back on the same related topic does not strike me as independent. Number two, on January 19th, resident Walter Norbrega provided a current cost comparative data for Edison and the existing CCAs in his voicemail to the council. Go listen to it. The savings are next to nothing, pennies per month on average. And for that, you want to create a brand new layer of government bureaucracy with big salaries and benefits for political insiders and enter into the power business and compete with Edison that's been around since 1909? Really? And number three, if Edison ratepayers wish to go green, Edison already offers green energy plans of 68% and 100% renewable energy. All it takes is a simple phone call for an Edison customer to opt into clean or green energy plans. In fact, Edison is bound by AB 117 to incrementally move towards 100% renewable energy by year 2045. The CCAs don't have a lock on the green energy market, that's for sure. Number four, the biggest red flag is that Edison ratepayers are involuntarily enrolled into the CCA once a jurisdiction commits to join and must take independent action to opt out of the CCA and return to Edison. Most residents don't pay attention and won't realize they've been switched to a CCA until we receive several bills in the mail, at which time they may have to pay a penalty to go back to Edison. If CCAs were so great, they wouldn't have to trick our residents to join in the first place. It's a classic switch without even being baited first. Number five, the California Public Utility Commission controls the exit fees paid by all CCAs to Edison and can change those rates on a whim, which could wipe out any savings to the energy consumer. The CCA has no control over this. Edison and the CPUC have been brother and sister agencies with strong relationships built up over the decades. From 2015 to 2016, Marin Clean Energy PCIA exit fees increased for the CCA ratepayers bill and more than doubled from $6.70 to $13 due each month as a result of a CPUC rate increase. Once the Lake Forest joins, it's over. There's no turning back. The penalties would be cost prohibitive to back out. This is an infant organization. The rules haven't even been established yet. Why commit at this time? There's no rush on this at all. Let's not fix something that's not broken by darting into the unknown and placing the city at great risk. This is a decision that, for all intent and purposes, is irreversible. It's permanent. Once you're in, you're stuck. You can't afford to get out. Please use good judgment. Wait and watch for 3 years if you wish. Revisit the topic after OCPA has some sort of measurable track record. Jumping in headfirst now would be a terrible disservice to our residents and to our city. Thank you so much for your time.
Good evening, Mayor Voigt and Council. My name is Margot Finlayson, and I have lived in Foothill Ranch since 2008. I'm calling regarding item number 15 on the agenda to urge you to stay in the Orange County Power Authority. Over the closing months of 2020, I was evacuated twice for wildfires and then saw friends evacuated as a third fire burned through the canyons nearby. What we should learn from the COVID-19 pandemic and increasing vulnerability to wildfires is that our city needs to build resilience. Community Choice Energy is one program that can help us do that. Not only will it bring competition in the electricity market, helping to reduce and stabilize rates for residents and businesses, but it will also bring revenues to the city for sustainability programs and will build resilience for future emergencies. For example, East Bay Community Energy is providing $10 million in annual customer savings over what would have been paid for PG&E service. And East Bay was able to provide $2 million in direct funding of COVID-19 relief in the communities they serve. That wouldn't have happened with an investor-owned utility committed to stockholders instead of a nonprofit community choice aggregate. The 0.5 to 2% savings projected for the Orange County Power Authority ratepayers may not sound like a lot, but it can add up fast for large utility users like tech companies, manufacturers, medical facilities, or the city itself. How many times do you have a chance to vote for a program that will save the city money on utility costs and bring revenues to the city as well? That sounds like a fiscally responsible choice to me. Please vote to stay in the Orange County Power Authority. I look forward to joining other Lake Forest residents, families, and businesses benefiting from greater consumer choice and future sustainability programs to help our city. Thank you for taking leadership on this important program as a founding member of the Orange County Power Authority.
Dear Mayor Voigt and Council, my name is Andrea Arevalo, and I am urging you to stay in the OC Power Authority. Wildfires are burning down our neighborhoods and covering our communities in smoke. We must fix climate change now and switch to 100% clean energy grid and divest from fossil fuels 100% to save the planet for ourselves, for our children, for our future, basically. We can create thousands of jobs by building a cleaner grid and economy. So please help bring consumer choice, cost savings, and energy resilience in the face of fires, floods, and an economic downturn for all Lake Forest families and businesses. Thank you for your time, and have a good rest of your day.
Hello, my name is Bob Holtzclaw, and I'd like to comment on item 16. We spend thousands of dollars on art that residents can't see. We cut doggy bags in the parks, calendars of the city, and trying to cut services for crossing guards. But we can spend $300,000 approximately for a special election for the CA. This is your job on item 16. You're supposed to vote for it. I emailed around 20 people in my neighborhood, and nobody even knows about this. Nobody's studied this. This is what you're supposed to be doing. And we don't want to create, I tell you right now, I'm totally against it. This is something that you should be doing and not anybody else. And I don't want to create another TCA with one of our board members sitting on it, which matter of fact, the TCA is something like $4 billion in the red. So what's going to happen there? Plus, this is kind of like just pushing it off to somebody else. If this fails and becomes a big boondoggle, well, you can just blame the residents instead of our city council members. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Diane, and I'm a 13-year resident here in the city of Lake Forest and a member of Saddleback Church. I would like to please encourage you to stay in the CCA. Thank you so much for your service in our city. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Hello, council members and mayor. My name is Linda Kramer. I lived in Lake Forest. My parents have been residents of Lake Forest for over 30 years. I'm urging you to stay in OCPA, the Orange County Power Authority. You may know me from other council meetings where I presented I'm really strong business and fiscal responsibility, but also want clean air. I'm calling to urge you today to stay in the OCPA. I have actually attended multiple state meetings and conferences on CCA. And the excitement and the energy in the room by the council members and staff that are currently operating CCAs is infectious. They are very supportive, constantly saying, do it, do it, do it. You will not regret it. And they bend over their backwards to help. So I'm encouraging you as council members to take leadership and reach out to them and talk to them personally. And I can help you do that or any of us that have contacted you can help you connect to some of these council members. One of the things I want to talk about is that energy is power, and it's safety, it's security, it's viability in terms of economics and business, and it's resilience. And it's as important as water and waste management in other municipalities. So who thinks it's a good idea to have a monopoly utility? We need local control of energy. And CCA is a proven model. We tried to privatize, that didn't work. CCAs do work. 10 years, 10 million customers with a 94 to 97% retention rate because they're happy customers. I also wanted to mention that Lake Forest has the opportunity to be a key ingredient in OCPA being a even more powerful JPA because of your industrial ingredients in your city, the space in your industrial areas, the microgrid opportunities because of the space in Lake Forest. You could add even more savings in terms of feed-in tariffs, in terms of net metering and other programs. Please take the lead and be part of this innovative launch team in Orange County. Thank you so much for taking the time. Hello, council members and mayor. My name is Linda Kramer. I lived in Lake Forest. My parents have been residents of Lake Forest for over.
Good evening, Mayor Voight and Council. My name is Ayn Creation, and I am an OC Clean Power volunteer. Thank you for voting in December to bring the city of Lake Forest to the OC Power Authority. I'm calling tonight to ask you to please keep Lake Forest in the OCPA so that businesses and residents can benefit from the consumer choice, clean energy, and savings that community choice energy will bring. The council should not spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a special election that could delay consumer choice for Lake Forest. With CCE, customers can easily opt out of the CCE and switch back to the Edison monopoly at any time they choose. That's the case in all CCEs, but on average, only 95% of customers choose to stay with the CCE, probably because it usually costs less and offers cleaner electricity. I also wanted to point out, as I mentioned in an email I sent to the council today, that there is real concern about reducing emissions among Lake Forest residents. Since 2008, Yale University, in partnership with George Mason University, has done significant research on climate opinion in the U.S. and regularly publishes public opinion on climate questions by congressional district. Some of their findings for the 45th congressional district, which of course includes Lake Forest, were that 72% of residents believe that global warming is happening. 71% said that environmental protection is more important than economic growth. And 83% support tax rebates for energy-efficient vehicles or solar panels, which is exactly the kinds of programs that CCE would fund. So I encourage you to stay in OC Power Authority once again, and I thank you for your careful consideration of this matter. Thank you.
Hello, I am Ryan Murphy. I interviewed a few of you council members for an article I was writing on the CCE program. But now, I'm not addressing you as a journalist, but as a private citizen. I'm calling in support of the CCE program. Councilmember Serbo, during our interview, you told me that on the topic of climate change, quote, the science has a lot of validity on both sides, quote, and climate change, quote, could be a phase, and it's a matter of the Earth going through climate variations at some point here, quote. I hope your climate skepticism does not cause you to stop supporting CCE. Councilmember Motizetti, even though you are an employee of SoCal Gas and make over $100,000 a year from that job, I hope that your fossil fuel ties do not cause you to stop supporting CCE. Councilmember Teddemer, you told me that you are weighing both the financial and environmental benefits and costs of CCE. I hope that you see that if you take into account the environmental costs of not joining the CCE, there is no question whether you should support the CCE or not. CCE can get us using 100% green energy by 2035, a goal we will not reach without participating in the CCE program. You all say you care about Lake Forest residents. In fact, we were all affected by the record-breaking fires of late 2020, which were fueled by climate change. Last year, the highest temperature ever reliably recorded on Earth was recorded in our own state, California, an alarming 130 degrees Fahrenheit. We too in Lake Forest experienced major heat waves over the summer. It has rained only a handful of times during this wet season. Despite what some may say, we are currently living through a drought. All of these environmental conditions are affecting Lake Forest residents that are most definitely all linked to climate change, caused by greenhouse gas emissions in a large part due to burning fossil fuels. This is a scientific consensus, unlike what some of the climate skeptic or fossil fuel company paid members of this council may argue. If you want to help fight climate change, if you want to do your elected duty of making life better for Lake Forest families, then vote to stay in the JPA and adopt the CCE program to help us get on track. Climate change is the greatest collective threat humans have ever faced. We must all do our part. All that I and many others ask of you is that as the people who were elected to be responsible for the over 83,000 residents of the city, do your part.
Hi, this is Andrea Alexander. Good evening, Mayor, council members, and staff. Hope everyone is doing well. I want to address some concerns from last council meeting regarding community choice energy and the OCPA. Pension liability, there will be none on the part of the cities because that's a pass-through to the management company, and the only thing that they probably will be offering would be a 401k. So no CalPERS, no worries there. Cities' liability for any short, mid, or long-term contracts, yes, those obligations are there, but not just to penalize the city for exiting the contract, but to protect the cities that remain from assuming the exiting city's debt. That stipulation is a protection. 2 consultants were asked if any CCAs have failed, and the answer was no. The consultant also stated that no CCA has ever exercised the weighted option. I suspect it's because all the cities have the same goals in mind: lower cost, more green energy, and local control, just to mention a few. Lake Forest did a CCA feasibility study in 2018, and it was tabled, I suspect, because we would be going it alone. There was no JPA in the offering. That has changed. We now have the opportunity to continue with OCPA, and Irvine will front all the costs. Councilmember Moa Tiziti, you even said that that was unprecedented, and that this opportunity is unlikely to happen again. Lake Forest voted to join the OCPA and obligated the city to pay for the securing of the load data from Edison. OCPA hired an independent consultant to do the feasibility study using that data. I don't know how much those costs were, but we are obligated for our share. Lake Forest hired their own independent consultant at a cost of $30,000, who basically told us that we had already been told from the previous consultant. A ballot measure would cost us $216,000 to $386,000. A ballot measure prevents us from staying in the OCPA because of the opt-out deadline. A large number of cities in California, as noted on the consultant slide presentation, have adopted CCAs and they are successful. None have failed. This is the future. This is progress. A majority of citizens want to take measures to combat climate change. CCAs do that. The Pope wrote an encyclical on climate change called Laudate Si. Excellent read. In it, he calls for action from all world governments, national, state, and local, to take steps to combat climate change because we are stewards of the earth, and we have a responsibility to keep it safe for future generations. CCAs move us in that direction. Thank you. Have a good night.
Hello, City Council. I'm a Lake Forest resident. My family and I have been following the community choice energy issue, and I read the staff report for agenda items number 15 and 16 for tonight's City Council meeting. I'm calling to support staying in the Orange County Power Authority because I believe that the opportunity to have lower rates and more local control over our power are a good thing. I would like to thank Mayor Voigt for all of the hard work that he has done in representing our city on the OCPA. I also oppose the item in number 16. $200,000 to $380,000 to be better spent providing services to the residents. Thank you for all that you do for the city and for allowing me to express my opinion.
That concludes our voicemail messages for this evening.
All right, so that
I just make a comment, please, to a couple of the...
Councilwoman Motazedi, can we just start opening up? Let me get my agenda here ready to go, find it. So obviously, we had a lot of public comments in there, so, you know, our task here tonight is to discuss this, but also to put forth a letter of questions directed towards the CEO and board of the Orange County CCA. So I'll open it up to you, Councilwoman Motazedi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I appreciate everyone who took the time to make a public comment regarding this. I do understand people's concerns about climate change, but I want to address something I think is either misinformation or is not clear. We will still be using Edison's transmission lines and breakers. When you talk about wildfires and Edison tied to that with their equipment, I think that's two different things. Edison's equipment will still be used. We will still use the same transmission lines regardless of what the energy source is. I just wanted to make that very clear. Also, I want to understand where everyone else was regarding consumer choice when the state has basically mandated that we go entirely electric. So I'm curious about those folks' opinions on that. But as far as this agreement goes, I look through what information we do have on this particular agreement, and I will say this: I'm not opposed to a CCA or a CCE forming, but I definitely don't like this one. This is unilateral and a one-sided agreement as it stands right now, with the city of Irvine having the most and wielding the most power to basically have everyone else fall in line with what their agenda is. And I completely disagree with that. We have many items that we have listed that we need follow-up on regarding their governance. And to my understanding, they have not taken this to the board yet with our grievances and our concerns. For instance, the terms. The term for each individual is 4 years, which is too long and I don't think appropriate. It should be similar to the Orange County Fire Authority. The weighted voting is a huge problem, and I don't think anyone mentioned that on the calls. Weighted voting, that we end up with something like 10% impact on the votes. And also the fact that Irvine has 2 votes. I just still don't like that. It doesn't sit with me right. And unless those change, I won't vote to stay in this.
Okay. So I think that there was a part of a letter that we have addressed with comments. That's what we're here to discuss tonight. So, Madam City Manager, you actually came forth with a condensed version of that. Why don't you explain that and tell us? I actually kind of like that. That the fact is that we have the opportunity to make our request. I think that we kind of are here to still do our due diligence, but the fact is that some of these requests and the questions, I was in the ad hoc with Councilman Tettemer, and I think some of these questions should be asked and answered in writing. So could you?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. So what the council was tasked with following our previous council meeting was to have our ad hoc committee take all of the commentary that we heard from the last council meeting and put it into a draft letter that the council could review and then choose to send to the authority as part of your due diligence process. You had some things that were questions, some things that you just wanted to confirm that we were interpreting them correctly, and others you had requests to actually change the joint powers agreement. So what I'm suggesting tonight is that we have 19 questions that were part of that draft letter that the ad hoc created that was attached to your agenda item, that we take those, have the council, kind of debate that and let us know what the most important things are out of those 19, And as staff, we would go to the Orange County Power Authority staff and get answers to those questions. But in terms of a letter to the board, I'm suggesting that we pare down your communication to just those items you want to tackle in the Joint Powers Authority and request a response from the board so you have that when you do your final deliberations on if you want to move forward or if you want to take a different tact. And so I'm suggesting that it's limited to the 5 items that are outlined in this draft letter. And so, Mr. Mayor, if you'd like to go through those items and then have some discussion and decide if this is the letter you'd like to send or an edited version of this letter to the authority board.
And so I'll open it up to council members as we go through these. So would we still be sending the rest of the questions to staff over maybe the CEO? Would that be coming from you to?
Yes.
Could we include all those? Because I think that some of those are maybe minute questions, but I think that if we have them in writing back, I think it calms a lot of our maybe fears of knowing where they stand. And so the fact that let staff answer those, but these ones that you think are deemed that would go to the board, let us take input. I think that this term of office, I too, as Councilwoman Motazedi said, that I too am concerned about the 4-year term rather than a 2-year or 1-year term. So my suggestion would be, we serve on another county agency, Vector Control, and it gives us as the city of Lake Forest the option to have a 2-year appointment or a 4-year appointment. I think that would be more palatable for them if we asked them in that way, that if we have the option, because I'm sitting here as the duly appointed board member for the CCA here in Orange County. I'm willing to say that I'll serve until my term is up or until I'm out of office. But the fact is that I think that we, as a council, would like to have the option of doing a 2-year or a 4-year, much like the Vector Control does. Would that be something that we could do, Councilman, with Mr. Robinson or Mr. Mel?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council, it's certainly something that we can request of the board. It's really up to the JPA board whether they're willing to change from a 4-year to a 2-year or a 4-year.
Well, I think it's just...
Mr. Mayor, I disagree with giving them the option. I disagree.
Hold on one second, please. I think that would be the easiest question because it would just be add or 2-year option for that. Okay, Councilwoman.
I think that would muddy the waters and make governance very difficult. And I just don't, I think vector control and having a power authority are very different. And also, the agreement as it stands now, our general fund is liable right now, can be liable. That means Lake Forest taxpayer residents, the funds that are put into services right now, it is an open liability issue. We don't have that with vector control.
Councilwoman, that doesn't pertain to the term of office for the board member only. So we're talking about the term of.
I know, but I'm just saying they're very different. I mean, who cares if vector control is 4 years? No offense. This is I think.
Well, I think that
I don't think we need to have someone in office for 4 years.
Councilman, I think it was Mayor Dwight Robinson brought this forth in 2016, 2017 to explore this. We actually went out to RFP and hired we took bids for a request for proposal for a feasibility study. We actually didn't have the votes to move it forward at that time, but at that time it was prior to any of these Orange County ones going forth. And so Councilman or Mayor Dwight Robinson was a leader in this in the beginning because of the cost savings for the residents and the businesses trying to stay competitive with our neighbors. So I think that that's one of the reasons that I'm still intrigued by this. I'm not sold on this, but I think that I have my due diligence to do the study and work with MRW to go forward with that feasibility study and bring it back. And so that's where I think that we have to work with what they have. I think that we've already asked, and they were very gracious to extend our term of leaving to April 1st. I know that there has been some question upon that, but the fact is I've sat in 2 board meetings where it was discussed it. I think City Manager Deborah Rose was in one of the board meetings with me as I was zoomed in, and Keith Neves was there. So we actually heard the vote of the board, and it was 5-0 in favor of allowing us to extend to do our due diligence, and they thought it was a reasonable request. So I don't.
Okay, but they haven't extended it. They missed the deadline.
They didn't miss the deadline.
If I can chime in, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
So this is an interesting point. The board of the JPA on December 16th did vote to push forward with extending that deadline. They have a scheduled vote for the 23rd of this month to officially vote for that extension. So it's not yet official because they have to amend the JPA agreement, and that extension will not be official until the 23rd. They gave notice on the 11th of January to all the member agencies that they would be extending, and that notice requires a 30-day period. So yes, they have agreed in principle to do it, but the official extension happens on the 23rd of this month.
Well, so that is it, yes or no, in time for us to still say yes or no too, correct?
So
we have until March.
Yes, under the current deadline, which is March 1st, we have to give 15 days notice, which I believe is on the 14th, so Valentine's Day, which is a Sunday, I think, which I know because I'm married. So that would fall on the Friday before Valentine's Day. So we would have to give notice by, I believe, the 12th probably, in order to make that in time. And they cannot officially act until 30 days after January 11th. So they would have to call a special meeting to take that action.
Well, because
So they're asking us to approve something on a handshake. Where they're asking us to put our taxpayer dollars and everything else on the line on a word of mouth. I mean,
well,
I am flabbergasted by this organization already.
I assure you that I believe that I know. She sits on the other side of the aisle for me. I actually have worked with her, know her, and they have voted in support of moving forward with the extended duration for us allowed to do our due diligence. And I feel confident that they will allow us to. So I know that you maybe not know them as well, but two of our colleagues there are actually with us on this and want us in. And the fact is that I think they're going to do everything they can. I think that fact is I don't think it would be a good faith message for future clients of the CCA to renege on that after they've already said yes.
Yeah, fair enough. I just don't like the timing of it. Back to the city manager's point about, outlining the points that we want to send to the staff versus the board. I mean, I think the amendments that we are requesting in the specific sections, I think that should go to the board, obviously. And then as far as the items that I think are important to bring up to staff, I think what would be good discussion points is regarding the process of which the termination or involuntary termination, I guess explanation of section 6.2 would be great. And then also the liabilities bullet point. If we depart after April 1st, 2021, what triggers the city's liabilities?
So those would be questions that be asked of city manager Deborah Rose to their staff.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. So I'm not opposed to sending the majority of these two, but the fact is those are good starts. Do we have any other counts? I know you have a list, so you've been on the list with me, so Councilman Serbo.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, so this February 23rd date, we're going to request the fact that they have a special meeting to decide, because the worst case scenario, and I understand what you're saying in terms of it would look really bad if on the 23rd they said, well, we're not going to allow that extension, and now we're past that date, so you've signed the agreement, so you're in. And now we have that liability. If we wanted to get out, then there's a tremendous penalty to do so. Is that the scenario?
Yes, that's correct. So the only way to alleviate that would be to request the OCPA to hold a special meeting on the 30th day after the notice was given, which would be somewhere around February 10th or 11th. Otherwise, yeah, we are passing past that deadline before they would take action on the 23rd.
Okay, but point of clarification there, since there's been no energy bought, that's the major burden on any city that's wanting to leave, is the energy load that's bought for that city. And since there have been no energy bought at that time, our risks are very low. Because there's no retirement, they only have 2 employees with no pensions. There's no pension agreement made up yet. So there's not really a lot of risk at that point, correct? The major risk is energy load, as I've heard it time and time said.
Mayor Voights, I did pose these questions to Mr. Poblowski over at Orange County Power Authority, and he basically said what you just said. Should the board, for whatever reason, not pass on the February 23rd, not approve the amendment, if we didn't opt out, we would still be in, but there is in the contract, if you didn't want to stay in, you could invoke your right to leave. And at that point, what Mr. Poblowski said was that there's very little cost incurred at this point, and so it wouldn't be as costly as it would be if they had purchased energy for the Lake Forest community. So you still have a relatively low basis. Now, I can't tell you what that basis is, but that was his general commentary, was that, they're not trying to...
So that gives me a little bit of reassurance, because the fact is they're trying to get more cities to join in, and they are desperately wanting South Orange County cities to join in. I've actually, in the last 3 days, been contacted by 3 cities, 2 city mayors and 1 city council members on what we think we're going to do on this, and probably watching tonight. So there's a lot of interest in this in South Orange County, and I think that Mayor Dwight Robinson was a groundbreaker in this, because he brought it forth to the city council in the end of 2016 or the beginning of 2017. You remember the year that we did that?
I think we started talking about this in 2017, yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, what it comes down for me is looking at the risks and the rewards, whether there's financial benefit, whether there's environmental benefit. And I think, we have a lot of passionate people that called in and actually emailed us. And, like any type of proposal, I've been looking at this and talking to residents, and I've been talking to other CCEs and gathering data and trying to come up with as much information as possible and get feedback on this to make, the best decision possible. And so some of the things that were iterated tonight, I think, I've been on, AYSO boards, and people don't understand all the stuff that goes on, behind the scenes a lot of times. And I think, clearing up some of the misinformation, some of the things that Councilwoman Matasley was talking about, maybe take a look at these and address these, so people maybe can get some more information in terms of what we found. Because we are doing our research. We are gathering information. We are taking on the ownership and responsibility for making the best decision possible for, the city. So I want to assure people that there seems to be some misunderstandings about some of the comments that I heard tonight. And I'd like to have an opportunity maybe to say, okay, thousands of jobs, let's talk about where are those coming from. Talking about the Edison options for 100% versus having to go to a CCE. The whole issues of climate change, some of the arguments to and from on those. So I just see that there might be an opportunity to also help our residents and communicate some more detailed information to help them with understanding how this is going too.
So just for my 2 cents in that, Councilman Serbo, my main focus is in local control and possible cost savings for my benefit of my residents, because the state of California is moving to a greener portfolio on energy. And so that's something that's coming down the line, whether we like it or not. And right now, with a CCA and being part of a CCA, we get to put forth our own menu of energy, whether it be 50% green, 50% ground. So I think that's a menu that gets decided by us as board members. But the fact is, some of the intriguing things is that right now, I really don't have a choice with where I get my energy, is Edison or not. With the CCA, I do have an option as a resident of the Sea Lake Forest to opt out of the thing. I know that some people clarify that, I'd rather have an opt-in, but the fact is that the truth is that the City of Lake Forest residents will be notified time and time again, and I think that you're talking discussions with Brian. Did you guys discuss how many times they would notify the city for us?
We didn't specifically discuss that. He did mention to me that they were going to be doing a robust public information process. I believe MRW, though, talked about multiple notices going to residents prior to launching a CCA as being standard in that industry.
So, I'm not 100% sold on this, so we're here to discuss what questions we want to send to this so we can do our due diligence, and so, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, my only comment is that I'm not very comfortable with us not having this extension in writing. I'm not okay with that. I mean, I heard everything that's been said, but I don't want to go past February 12th or whatever the drop date, or, our 15-day is, and not have that. And I'm just not comfortable with that.
Okay. Now, Councilman Teddemer, let me get my notebook out. And I want to thank you for your time on the ad hoc. But so we've drawn up a bunch of questions. I know that some of them may be weighed down, and some of them are maybe directed to the board in a letter, and some to the staff.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to everyone that provided us input tonight. So to stay just on the letter, I appreciate and can support the idea of the bifurcation, where we would keep this sort of board level letter to the board and let staff grapple with the others. I suspect some of the answers that would come from staff would say we can't answer that because we don't know. And that gets back to the concern that there are policies and bylaws, et cetera, that just don't tell them what direction they're going to go. So I won't be surprised if many come back and saying we don't know yet, which concerns me. But the reason I did support that more robust list is because I think there's things that I would like them to state their position on it. And if they don't know, say you don't know. I'm fine with that too, but at least, so I support the bifurcation of the letters, so I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Let me just carry on then with the issue
You may.
of the timing. Thank you. I too am troubled with this idea that we are going to be proceeding without assurance. I'm not comfortable with that. I would never recommend that. So all I can think to do to cure that is to say that we must know by whatever date we select, and that we will have a special meeting the following day, I'll say, for lack of, just for tonight. And that's keeping the door propped open as much as possible for us to consider that if they will extend it or not. If they don't take action, then when we get together, then we can decide our next course of action. So my take is that I think we would need to ask them to have a special meeting, right? Because the regular one would be too late. So I think they would have to take a special meeting, and that we would also need a special meeting to preserve some of the concerns I've heard tonight about moving forward on a blind faith. I'm not comfortable with that. There are other things I want to talk about, but I don't want to get too far off of your script, so I can come back to my items later on because we are sort of simultaneously talking about 15 and 16.
Well, while we're on that topic, so, Mr. City Attorney, where are we with what they're asking us to, special meetings and stuff? Where would theirs have to be a drop deadline of saying yes or no? And would that be a second reading, because they've already voted once to extend this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council, so.
Because I clearly remember them graciously voting, Mayor Pro Tem from the city of Irvine seconded my substitute motion.
Yeah, The board did vote to extend.
And 5-0.
Yes, yes. So the intent is certainly there. They gave staff direction to give the member agencies, which would be Irvine, Buena Park, Fullerton, Huntington Beach, and Lake Forest, 30 days notice of an amendment to the JPA agreement to move the deadline from March 1st to April 1st. That notice was given on January 11th. So they cannot act to amend the JPA agreement until 30 days after January 11th. Let's say that that's the 10th or 11th of February, which means that the earliest that they could act to affirm their vote on December 16th by amending the JPA agreement would be the 10th or 11th, or I should say 11th or 12th of this month. We would then have to have a special meeting on Friday the 12th, which would be just before our 15-day deadline, which falls on Sunday the 14th.
Well,
So
because
would
it
really be
lands
back
on
to back.
Sunday the 14th, do we get an extension? Could we go to the 15th because that's it's a Sunday?
I mean, there's no law that's, that I'm aware of that dictates whether you go forward or backwards. Typically, the conservative approach is to go backwards.
Okay.
And to give the notice
Just a
before
question.
the,
Thank you. Just a question.
the weekend.
So that's Friday, February 12th for us.
That would be our special meeting, and we would request that they hold a special meeting perhaps the day before the 12th on the 11th.
Well, if it's council's pleasure, I mean, we can make that request. And I myself am not too concerned about it. I mean, I know that you guys are thinking that I'm sticking my head out, but the fact is that I think that the weighted loss of reputation for them as they seek new members is gonna be huge. And the neighboring cities that have contacted me just in the last 2 days, give me, a hedge that if they were to renege that on us, when we're in the process of doing our due diligence, I think would look bad upon them as they seek new membership. So, but it's up to you as the board. I mean, I'm comfortable.
I just don't, Mr. Mayor, I just don't think that's a proper way to conduct business. And it does not bode well for establishing trust and transparency in an organization that's using taxpayer dollars to pay salaries. So that is my position on it. Yes, I understand that obviously they don't want to besmirch their reputation early on, but I just don't agree with that as being prudent, in my opinion. So if we were to ask them to push up their meeting, or have a special meeting on February 11th, that would be fine with me, but I want to see something in writing before we agree to be on this.
Councilman Matazzi, so you would like to add that to the questions?
Yes, please. I don't know what the best way to go about it is. I will defer to the city manager on that, or who to communicate to for the special meeting.
Madam City Manager?
We can include it in the letter, or I could just simply talk to their CEO and communicate that request.
Communicate to staff that,
Yeah, I think it'd probably be faster.
I would accept that as, okay, so we'll give you the duty of doing that. Thank you.
Yes.
So that, I think that raises a little bit so back to Councilman Tedermer.
Thank you, sir. I just want to explore one more thing, the idea that if we chose we're in and we choose to leave, for whatever reason that scenario plays out. Remind me what the agreement says, that we don't technically leave for 6 months? Am I remembering that right, or?
So this is, the question as I understand it is, if we are in after the March 1st or
Correct.
April 1st deadline.
Yes.
As it may be, I believe that's the case. Let me just take a look at the agreement real quick
Okay.
and
Please.
refresh my recollection.
So, and just to follow up on Councilmember Montazzi's concern about the exposure, I agree with you that the largest exposure would be when contracts are let for power purchasing. I get that.
Yeah.
But I'm also assuming they are going to be incurring costs during that 6-month period, and there may be some exposure to that, whether they make a power purchase or not.
Yeah, agreed.
If,
but,
if we are for in for 6 months.
Okay, well, we're
Yeah.
looking at for 6 months.
Yes, so it's section 6.1.2. It requires 180 days or 6 months written notice of withdrawal after the March 1st or April 1st deadline, whichever.
Depending
it
which
is.
one, yeah.
But would that be with or without energy for us? I'm assuming that they're not buying energy for us if we've given a written notice that we're leaving.
It's still a 6-month written notice regardless of what's been purchased
Okay,
to
but
date.
we're-
We have to give 6 months
hypothetically,
notice.
we haven't purchased any energy yet.
That's correct.
Okay. So the fact is that they have 2 employees right now, and they're only agendized, I think, 10 employees in the next 8 months.
Yeah, I spoke to the CEO, and he told me they're authorized for 11 positions, but
11?
they think they're only going to hire 5. But right now, they only have 2. He also said that, if the city were to indicate they wanted to exit the authority would make decisions based on knowing that we wanted to exit. So
So he did take that into consideration, because that's kind of was my question.
Yes.
If we got 6 months, I mean, they're not buying, I'm assuming they're not buying energy on our behalf if we've given them the notice, and I think that answered my
correct,
question.
that's what he indicated.
Okay. So I think that we go through and, I don't know, do you like the questions going to staff that are in the ad hoc? I mean, I'm not opposed to sending the majority. I think that city manager has highlighted a few that are going directly to the board, but the rest, I'm not opposed to sending the rest to the staff to answer that in writing.
Well, Mayor, if I can, I'll just go ahead and make the motion that we proceed with the bifurcated approach as outlined by the city manager, that the letter that presented tonight proceed on to the board, and that the remaining items that the ad hoc developed be sent from the city manager to the CEO, and he can respond to the best of his ability. That's my motion.
I'll second.
All right. We'll vote on that bifurcation.
We'll just do a quick roll call vote. Councilmember Serbo? Aye. Mayor Pro Tem Pequeño? Aye. Mayor Voight?
Yes.
Councilmember Teddermer?
Aye.
Councilmember Motazedi?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen, and ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to, and considering item number 16, considering that we haven't done our due diligence, could I postpone this into a future date to where we vote on bringing it forth the election? Because I think as one of the council members, as one of the callers said, that, it's really, the responsibility falls on us. This should be a last resort. So I would like to, at this time, postpone this vote of us taking it to a public election because of the cost, and I think that we haven't really gone forth and done our due diligence yet.
Mayor, if I could?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Well, I appreciate that. If I could have a few minutes to sort of lay out my thoughts around this, and then we can discuss whether it's deserving of any further discussion or not, because I think if I contextualize my thoughts around this, then the council has what was in my heart and mind.
We give you that.
Thank you very much. So first of all, thank you, colleagues, for allowing me this opportunity. Second, I just want to clarify that at no point did I ask for a standalone vote. So I want to make that clear. That was an interpretation somewhere during the development of the agenda, but that was never my request. And I know that's now become a concern that we're going to spend 300 or whatever thousands of dollars. I never advocated for that. We don't know what the cost would be. We don't know when it would be. We don't know what else would be on the ballot. There's a lot of things we don't know. But I wanted to make sure that that was something discussed. Let me also say that I am not opposed to a CCE or a CCA. Never have been, and I'm not. So I want to be clear, because I think some have this, maybe this feeling that I'm opposed. I am not. I believe that, as the mayor indicated, that Councilmember Robinson, he stressed his goal was trying to save money, and I think that's a worthy cause. The city itself purchases, I think the city manager told me, about $1 million worth of energy every year. So the city would be a benefactor in and of itself, not to mention the residents and businesses, and I'm for that. But the real question is Orange County Power Authority the best vehicle for us to achieve that? And in short, I don't know, because we haven't looked at anything else. And so what I want to do is I want to explore the best arrangement for the residents, businesses in the city, and to do that, I believe we need to take some steps. First, I do believe we need to have an engagement with the community, with the residents and businesses, to find out what they want. Our subject matter expert, Mr. Fulmer from MRW, provided several notions about this in the report. He writes, quote, "It's important that we reflect on what the community wants and are able to tailor the services to the community, and that we, quote, keep foremost in mind why the city is forming a CCE program, lower rates, greater local control, reduced carbon emissions, we don't know." And so for us to launch into something when we don't even know exactly what we're trying to achieve seems backwards. Mr. Fulmer goes on to write that whatever the reason, the city's leaders must keep that goal in mind throughout the startup process, both as policies are set as well as communicating with the public. He also, Mr. Fulmer, talks about leaving plenty of time for the community to engage, and so they are well informed prior to launch. As I sit here tonight, I'm unaware of any information we have about what the community wants to achieve. We certainly heard a lot of public comments tonight. Appreciate that. But we don't know. Do they want us to exercise greater local control than what the Orange County Power Authority provides? Orange County the Power Authority is not local control, at least not the way I define it. Local control is this body makes the decision, and we are not part of some JPA. So yes, it's more local than SCE, but it is not local in the purest sense. So I want to just throw that out there for people when they say support local control, join the CCA or join OCPA. I don't believe that's local control. And as an expression of that has been alluded to earlier, there are 5 cities currently in right now. And on a straight vote, we would have a 20% share vote on that board. But there's 2 from the city of Irvine, so that immediately drops to 17% vote share. And if they enact the weighted voting provision, we drop to a 10% share. It doesn't sound like local control for me as I define it. Maybe somebody have a different view, but I define it as being this body gets to make the decisions. Furthermore, there was one of the commenters tonight talked about Edison's green energy programs. Staff reported, I think to me, and maybe all of you heard it at different times, that I think there were 17 residents that had subscribed to this program and no businesses had subscribed to the program. What does that mean? I don't know. But it's not as if there's a groundswell of support to go buy green energy or it's an anti-SCE vote. I don't know which it is, but that really is the problem. We don't know. We don't know exactly what's going on or why, and we don't know what the community wants. Do they want lower rates? Do they want greater local control? Do they want reduced carbon emissions? We don't know. So first, we need to engage our community and have a thoughtful conversation to tell them what is being contemplated, ways it can be addressed, and what do they want to see out of it. Based on that, second, we would then explore our options on how to achieve what the community wants us to achieve. Is Orange County Power Authority the only vehicle available to us? It is not. It is not the only vehicle available to us. And so I don't think we're doing our due diligence if we just sign up with the first person who shows up and said, I've got a great arrangement, get on board, when we don't look at our options. And so if we go through these 2 steps, engage with the community, find out what they want, then explore all of our options, and if all roads lead back to the Power Authority, then this council should join. But if it takes us in a different direction, then we should consider that as well. I'm aware that there are other CCE and CCE-like ventures that preserves true local control. The Lancaster model is one that caters to Southern California Edison customers. I don't know anything about it. I've seen their website. It looks interesting, and I don't think I'd be doing my job if I didn't understand whether that was better or worse than what's being presented tonight. So for those reasons, I believe we need to look at all of our options with the help of whether they're consultants or whatnot to weigh that up. I've served in various forms in the city of Lake Forest for 12 years, 2 as a planning commissioner and 10 members on the city council. And it's always been my view that the city's been very thoughtful and deliberate about the way it deals with matters, and especially important ones like this, that we go through and we do our homework. And that's why we end up with great product, such as the building we're in tonight, such as the sports park. And that's why I think we get the results we get when we do surveys, because people have faith in our ability to do our job and do it thoroughly and make the best decisions. I sort of view that as the Lake Forest way. I don't feel like this is the Lake Forest way, because we've only been presented one option and we don't know what the community wants. That does not feel like it's a robust conversation. I've also, as an aside, learned about myself through all my various ventures with the city that I'm a process person. And I want to follow a process, and I'll go wherever the process leads, I'll follow it. And even if I don't like the outcome, I'll say we went through a good process and I'll live with the outcome. But what I don't want to see is that process shortened or abbreviated for some purpose which I don't understand. So I've been on the losing end of votes, and that's fine as long as it's a good process. I'll adhere to it and follow it. It's when the process, I feel, has not been thoroughly vetted. So with all that, my recommendation is that we ask an ad hoc, the ad hoc, whichever, we can discuss, work to develop a plan under which we would engage our community to find out what they want us to achieve, with some understanding about what CCAs are. We heard several commenters during the call talk about the fact that most people don't even know what it is or how it works or anything about it. I think that's part of the process, is to share with them what it is and find out what they want to achieve. The reason I did talk about a potential ballot measure, it may not be necessary, by the way, is that the ad hoc would be tasked to go and explore with staff the best ways to find out what the community supports, and based on some level of understanding about what CCEs are and what our options are, and then we can make an informed decision. But if the ad hoc comes back and says, we think a robust survey gives us what we need, great. We don't need to have a special election. But I wanted to make sure that at least if the ad hoc does come to fruition, that it looked at everything and explored it and understands what it means and weighed up the merits of it, good, bad, or otherwise. So I'm personally one that I want to pump the brakes. My personal view is I want to pump the brakes in this process, because I think we've jumped to steps 4, 5, and 6 without doing steps 1, 2, and 3, and that concerns me. And again, not opposed to CCEs, and not opposed to trying to address the comments made tonight, but I want to do it in the proper way and in the proper order, and then we'll see where that journey takes us. Regarding the upcoming discussions about the February meetings, theirs and then ours, I'll wait and see what comes out of that. But it's my view that we have not taken the proper steps to have a solid foundation on which to stand, that when we are asked by residents, what did you think about, what did you contemplate, what did you explore, saying, well, we just talked to one and we signed up. I can't in good conscience do that. And so I want a good process so we can all stand proudly and say, we did our homework, we did it the right way, we engaged the community and took their advice, and then tried to find the program that best fit, that in this council member's opinion preserves the greatest amount of absolute local control possible, and I think there may be ways to achieve it. We'll see. My motion is that we form an ad hoc to explore that. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take that motion up, but I have some comments also. Sure. We in our process of right now doing our due diligence to reach out to a energy consultant to do our research on our feasibility study. We have a poll that's actually due in, and that actually has 2 CCA questions in it. Is that correct, Madam City Manager?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and you know, we talk about local control. What local control do we have now with Edison? We have none. So the fact is that as people are worried about weighted voter or non-weighted voted, I think that right now we have a 3-3 board on the CCA of Orange County. You have Huntington Beach with Mike Posey, Mike Carroll, and myself, and then you have 3 on the other side. But so I think it's evenly split right now. And of the 3 cities that are in South Orange County that have reached out and talked to me about this in the last 3 days, are Republican leading cities. So I think that this is something that is a pro-business thing, because the fact is, if it's true that they save 2 to 6%, or they say 2% in Irvine over Lake Forest, does Lake Forest become the logical choice for businesses as they produce and look for land to actually build in and do a campus on? Because at $1 million, we're saving, over $20,000 a year. With our budget here around $1 million at 2%.
Yes, we spend about $1 million on energy.
So we have actually energy users in the city of Lake Forest that's well overdue that in 24/7 operations. I can think of 2 right now, 3. That actually I haven't reached out to them and to see what their energy load is, but it's substantial. So the fact is that I think as we go through this process, that I think we stay the course, because we still have time at the end when we decide. We're not going to get so far out there to where we've hung ourselves. And so we stay the course. And so my motion is that we make that request of the CCA, if they would consider having that special meeting, allowing us to have that option. So I feel comfortable that the CCA, the board, the JPA board, will allow us that grace that they've already extended to us. And so my thing is that we stay the course. And so I don't want to do it, because the fact is, what local control do we have now? With Edison, 0. So even if it goes to weighted vote, we have a vote. So it is local control. I think that what happens, Edison is a local private company that their stockholders that they're beholden to. So there's excess money there. We talk about salaries. Well, the fact is, the salaries that they have as a private company that's providing energy out there substantially will be higher than what they're talking about with a staff of 11 with the JPA here in Lake Forest or in Orange County. So I just say that we stay the course what we're on. I'd like to table the election. And so my motion is a substitute motion to table the scheduled election for November 9th, and just table that, extend that on. And so I'm asking that to be extended. And so that would be my motion, to extend the election choice that we have to a future meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I think that I've laid out what I want to see happen and the rationale for why.
Well, I think we're on a course right now, and so there's 2 motions on the table. There's a substitute motion and your motion. So I think that we just wait and see who we get a second.
Right, but neither one got a second. I'm just sharing one perspective on what I spoke on.
Well, wait. When does our poll due?
I believe we're going to get our top-line results on February 9th. Is that still accurate, Brett? Yes, February 9th.
See, I think that we're jumping the gun a little bit. I mean, see what the poll says in True North. There is a poll out there right now.
Can I ask a question about the poll? Does that include businesses that we're contacting, or is it strictly a residential random?
It's random, residential, and businesses. So it's both.
Okay, because I received, one of the comments I thought was valid is that, have we talked to the major businesses in our city, the ones who may be consuming large amounts of power? And we have not. I just think, well, that might be, part of, Mark's point is, when you go to war, you have objectives of what you want to do before you even get into it. So I kind of resonate with the idea of, have we identified what the objectives are? Is it saving money? Is it green energy? Is it local control? Is it more jobs? What are those things? And then the subtleties that we are dealing with in the agreement is what's called the concern. And we're being good stewards, I think, in terms of looking at those details that a lot of the residents and other people haven't actually seen those kind of details. And so But we're looking at all those things in terms of the best interest. So I like the idea of establishing objectives, and I also like the idea of maybe contacting, some of the major businesses in our community and poll them directly and say, what do you know about CCA? What are your thoughts and inputs on it? What is your energy use? Here's the potential savings. Here's some of the issues, find out from them.
So Councilman Serbo, actually, we have a letter that came to us when we first started this from Applied Medical, one of our biggest providers, in 100% support.
Okay.
Is that correct, Madam City? Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Applied Medical came on board when they first started hearing about this, and then I think that when Mayor Robinson was talking about it, he actually talked to some of the local businesses that were in support of it. So I think that there is a possibility that there is some already motion out there, because the fact is that I think the incentive is for them is a lower energy cost, and when we're talking about millions of dollars of energy, that does become substantial savings for them.
Okay. Well, of course, that's a selfish interest on their part, and we're trying to make sure we do the due diligence of all these contract details and protect the liability that the city may or may not be subject to as well. So it's a lot of facets that we're considering, and for a large business, yes, savings of money, how could you vote against that, right? But what are the potential consequences for the city and the residents associated with that based on some of these things we've identified in this letter we're going to send to
Well,
get answers?
we talk about the risks to our people out there. The fact is, the risk is pretty minimal to a resident or a business in the city of Lake Forest, because if the CCA doesn't fulfill their objective in saving costs for our consumers, that they have the option to option out no matter what year it is. It's not a closing that thing. The fact is, they have an option. They have a choice. And so that's the beauty of this. And so there is a choice. I think that there's still questions out there that I have. And so I'm coming at it in an open and fair mind. But I have seen positive direction in my mind, thinking that this isn't a bad choice for the city of Lake Forest, because the fact is that even if we did get in it and our energy is even or 1% below, or they're 1% above, the residents and the business have the option to opt out. I mean, it's truly a choice.
But Mayor, if I could, but you oppose that with SCE we have no control versus OCPA, where we have some control. But there's another model out there that we haven't even talked about or explored that says, what if this city council were to call all the shots on it and join with some other CCE? That's the greatest expression of local control. So it's not just OCPA or SCE. There are other options, and all I'm saying is, let's go talk to the community, and then let's go look what those options are. And if all roads lead back to OCPA, sign us up. I just want to go through the process and not short-circuit it, because I'm unaware that we've explored or know anything about any others. We've gotten little snippets of it in MRW, but it doesn't really, I don't think it's not.
When does MRW come back to us?
At your next council meeting on the 16th.
So Mayor, I'm happy to continue my item, and we can discuss it then at the special meeting, which I presume we will have.
I presume that too.
And therefore, but I've daylighted for all my colleagues where I'm going and my motivations and interests, so everyone knows what it'll be. So when we get there, it'll be a quicker conversation. So I'm happy to continue my item to the special meeting.
So,
I can second that.
tabling that, okay, that's been tabled for this time to the hopefully special meeting that they.
I would just ask if staff can please correct the agenda item so it reads consistent with my request. Thank you.
And so would that exclude the, so since that, so there'll be no talk of an election at that time then?
Correct. We
Okay.
would,
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, sir.
First I want to thank Councilmember Teddemer for his leadership and for his insight. I agree with him on what he said. I do think we need to explore a little bit more. I don't like him, I think we only have one option. I want to explore more options. So I should have jumped on the second right away, but I didn't. So lesson learned.
No harm, because it's been tabled to this time and postponed to the next special meeting.
Do we need to vote on that, or is it okay just to recognize it?
I think it'd be good to vote. So my
Roll call vote.
understanding of what we're doing is, I'm going to call the CEO and request that they hold a special meeting to consider adopting the contract amendment. We're going to schedule a special meeting for February 12th. So in the event that there hasn't been formal action on that amendment, you can debate, and you have the option to make a decision at that point to affirm or to opt out, or just to continue our due diligence process. Yes, I think that's the motion on the table.
Okay, so we'll have a roll call vote then?
Does that include, I mean, is it also to continue my item? Then I just want to clarify.
Yes, we're continuing your item,
that's
and
what
we're
it was.
sending the bifurcated letter, but I think you already voted on that.
I just want to clarify. Thank you.
Councilmember Serbo,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Pequeño,
Aye.
Mayor Voight,
Yes.
Councilmember Teddemer,
Aye.
and Councilmember Motazedi.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
So we're going to have our first ever Friday night meeting?
No, I think we.
Special meeting 2021, here we go.
There it is.
So that brings me to the city manager's report.
I have nothing further, thank you.
Okay, council member comments. Councilman Serbo.
Yes, I'd like to make a couple of comments. I'm going to be hosting an event at the new Portola Park on February the 27th. It's a Saturday morning from 9 till about 11 o'clock. So our city staff member, Jonathan Volsky, is going to be helping me get that arranged. And it'll be an opportunity. I want to have regular times when I can have a face mask to face mask interaction with local residents and hear from them directly. And then maybe we're also going to have some other representatives. I know we've also secured someone from the Orange County Sheriff Department to be there, and we're arranging for other people. So residents can come, meet us, ask questions. And, you know, just recently up in my neighborhood in Portola, there's been some incidences of some break-ins into cars and whatnot. So I want to remind all of our residents, do the basics, lock your car, secure your valuables out of there, and then just be extra vigilant. And we're going to see about maybe reinvigorating some of the neighborhood watch areas up there and get that program going. And then if you see something, say something. It's a hot day and somebody's in a hoodie with gloves, call. And if you have an incident like that, report it, 770-6011, and then they'll take your report and we get that on the record so we can track to see what activity is going on. Thank you.
Councilmember Motazedi.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yes, I would like to get a council consensus on an item to be agendized. The dog park at Baker Ranch has been off and on an issue for some residents that live right next to it. It is an unusual, having a dog park that close in proximity to homes is rather unusual in any city. And I'm hoping to look at some options with staff to help alleviate some of the concerns of the residents that live by there. So I'm hoping to get this on an agenda and asking for support.
You have my support.
Okay, you've got consensus.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And that's the only comments I have this evening.
Thank you, Councilman Teddemer.
Nothing further tonight. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Patino.
Yes, first I want to thank staff for all their hard work, especially all my phone calls that I'm getting. I think I got blocked on the assistant city manager's phone. And I want to congratulations to the 3 new commissioners, and nothing further.
I want to thank all those that have applied for committee appointments, and thank you for your participation, and encourage you to keep watching our websites as we open up and start our classes again. I want to congratulate those that are serving our city that have been appointed. Thank you for your service, and I have nothing further. Stay well. God bless. I'd like to reopen the meeting for 1 minute. I think that we'd like to close, or convene in the memory of Deborah Rose's mother. And I have her name here somewhere. Miss Deborah Rose, if you could help me, please, we're going to adjourn in her memory.
Yes, my mother's name was Lydia Rebecca DeBurl. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So let's remember to keep Deborah in our prayers. We're sorry for your loss. Our deepest condolences to you and your family. We close in her honor.